Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to World of Warships, where today, for our Friday highlight, I'm featuring the Tier 10 American destroyer USS Laffey. Just came out of the dockyard. I've been having some fun playing with her this past week, and tomorrow I'll do upgrade commander build video. I'll go ahead and just on the top left of the screen, you can see the upgrades in commander now, and in tomorrow's video, I'll give you a full breakdown of why I take what I take. So there's going to be two main highlights later on in this battle. This video is going to be a little bit more in-depth than I originally anticipated, but I hope you don't mind and it gives you some more helpful information. So first, to start off, typically the torpedoes, the way I approach them is that the torpedoes are really for ships that are pushing into you. So you do get 10 torpedoes. You know, basically Laffey's a gearing with some other twists and oddities, and his Genon is tired of us pursuing him and keeping him spotted, so I'm hoping my enemy team, or my teammates, will just wreck him. So I go ahead and decide I'm going to go ahead and smoke up, and we're going to go ahead and shoot this Yamato. So with the Genon pushing in, I decided to go ahead and stop my smoke screen, which I didn't really need to do. I could have waited till I gotten further up here, because he's already turning out. But I'm going to use the burst fire, which we'll talk about that. And basically here, I end up letting too much health escape me. That's going to be kind of a theme. You'll see me struggle a little bit with that in today's video, but I hope you learn from it. But we get the Dove Strike here. Now, again, we have another example where typically with Laffey, what you end up happening is you trade with destroyers before you die a lot. You're going to see that, I think, 2 or 3 times in today's video. So Scaring, I think, started with 18,000 health. We were around like 13,000 health. We don't get a ton of health, but our super heal really helps us out. And you have to make sure when you pick an engagement with an enemy destroyer that you hit the heal early, because it's such a long heal and you only have 23,100 hit points. And then when you think you might be about to die, or you need to get that destroyer dead before you die, you activate the burst fire consumable. So, you know, in the normal circumstances, you would have just like died there. I wouldn't have had enough time possibly to kill the gearing there. So it's a little bit of a cheat there with Laffey in terms of, you know, let's say you actually lost the gunfight engagement. Well, the burst fire makes it to, well, I might lose, but I'm likely going to take you with me if you have a less, the enemy destroyer you're firing or going up against doesn't have enough hit points. Here we have a Mecklenburg pushing in. I'm helping defend the defense. The defense here has been anchoring this flank. He has an amazing game. I'm going to future defense in probably 2 weeks. I need to get the ship first. I'm about to have enough coal. But again, the torpedoes are 8-kilometer torpedoes that hit for, I think they're 17,900 damage. And so that's really, you utilize the torpedoes more defensively than offensively. Like if your position is being pushed like the Genon, like the Mecklenburg here, and there's a couple other times I had ships pushing into me, that's when you utilize the torps, because they have a pretty long reload time. Here is, again, another example of having destroyer-on-destroyer engagements. It's actually 3 destroyers here. We've already popped our heal really early. Me and this Laffey have been going at it back and forth. And so, again, before we die, we just switch to the burst fire. And we make sure we take him with me, so we just end up trading there. So that's a common theme if you utilize the burst fire well. Here's an example of beginning to feel a little maybe more confident than I should in Laffey and being completely caught off guard with a Marceau. Now Marceau will wreck you, especially if it's like a DD assassination build Marceau. And smoke fire penalty is 2.9. I decided to smoke up at 2.7, and it didn't matter because there's also Svea there with the radar. And we're going to end up dying here. And I could have even popped the heal a lot sooner there, so that's an example. I complimented the Marceau. He did a really good job diving in like that, because on that flank I should have gone a little more wider. So that's on me. So a lot of short clips there. Now we have 2 longer form battle types. Here I want to showcase the defensive AA to you. Now this isn't a normal defensive AA. You know, we're talking about a gearing. And Gearing has defensive AA too, but the def AA on Laffey is better than the def AA on Gearing. Why is that? Well, on Gearing you have a plus 100% continuous damage and a plus 300% damage to damage by shell explosions, the flak or whatever. On Laffey, it's a plus 200%. continuous damage versus Gearing's plus 100% and then a 300% on the damage by shell explosions. So Laffey gets a huge upgrade when you activate her Def AA versus going without it. I mean, otherwise it's pretty average AA, like it's nothing to brag about. The defensive AA is what sets Laffey apart, kind of matching her historical accuracy in terms of, I'm guessing, what Wargaming was going for here. So there's still going to be a couple more engagements we have here with the CV. I mean, you'll be able to see the difference of me when I'm utilizing the Def AA versus when I'm not utilizing the Def AA. So I purposely picked that engagement with that enemy CV, you know, that you want to first activate your Def AA, and then you want to prioritize the AA sector. That's where you get the most damage versus prioritizing AA, then Def AA. Do Def AA first, then prioritize your AA sector, you'll get even more damage, right? Because when you prioritize, it bolsters whatever damage your Def AA does, so it bolsters the damage output that the Def AA is already doing. So here, the Shimakaze, I'm thinking he's about to go dark, which he does, so we utilize a burst fire. We don't land many shells because I want to make sure I avoid the torpedoes. And then we have utilizing some AA, and then things are going to change. We activate Def AA, we go ahead and we smoke up, and then he's going to eat a massive flat cloud here, I'm pretty sure. Am I looking away? Yeah, he's just eating it hardcore right there. So 6 planes shot down, and then I'm going to sneak outside the smoke and get briefly spotted because I'm on fire. Could have went ahead and used the DCP there, but I didn't know if he'd give another strike off on us, and we're going to go ahead and just use one of our repair parties. The big thing with Laffey, as the CV is going to come into this again, is that it's an odd boat because you feel like, oh, it's a gunboat, like, but it's a gearing. But it's kind of built as a gunboat, but it's a gearing. Laffey isn't a, I would say, in my opinion, Laffey really isn't a farming boat. She's more of cap contest, key objectives, controlling flanks, you know, focus taking out the enemy destroyers. And when you have the enemy destroyers out of your way, then the ball game really opens up in terms of what all you're able to do. What you're going to see as an example in this video, the Shimakaze is just we're going to end up going our separate ways. He's going to let me have access to his flank, and I essentially let him have access to my flank, but I didn't know where he was. But I'll talk more about that when the time comes. And we're going to get a lot of spotting damage this game, and able to push more towards the enemy cap. So AA is great, just, you know, there will be a night and day difference between whether you're utilizing the Def AA or not. Okay, so now I want to switch more to talking about the more general specificities of the ship. You know, here again, the burst fire. I take one shot just to see about how to aim well, because he's about to go dark because the CV is going to stop spotting him, so that's why I used the burst fire there. Yeah, he's already gone dark now. So the high explosive, the armor piercing, these 127s are verbatim the exact same that you have on gearing. There's no difference in terms of the main battery. You know, the only difference here is basically the burst fire consumable, which, you know, here you see me being cheeky. And, you know, with that main battery, I believe the high explosive performance ranks 9th out of all like 37 tier 10 destroyers. So when you can see here, I have, was it Fearless Brawler skill. Whenever, you know, we're spotted, we get a faster reload time. I quite like it. You can see I'm not building range, and I don't really believe building for range for Laffey, because these, the 127s, it's really hard to land shells. They have a really long shell travel time at range. I think one of the things that gearing might have a leg up on Laffey, though, in terms of the main battery, is the turret traverse. So I actually take grease the gears, and as you can see here, I didn't quite get my guns on track on time on the enemy Shimakaze. He's going to dump torps on us, and yeah, I killed my speed a little too much right there, and we're going to eat one. Get the DCP off very fast because we were about to die, and immediately get a heal off. You know, one of the things that ends up setting Laffey apart from other ships, specifically let's say ships without heals, is the fact that you have a repair, the repair party makes it more forgiving. So if you mess up, right, the heal will basically put you back in the game. Like, I would have died there to that Shimakaze torpedo if you also take into account the damage I took from the CV earlier, right? And to kind of compensate this heal that Wargaming has given the Laffey is that they've reduced your total amount of hit points. I mean, you have a total amount of hit points that are less than that of gearing. I don't remember what gearing is with Superintendent and Charlie Kilo. And then again, you see me utilizing torpedoes on a target that's pushing into you, right? So we have a Thunder pushing in. We dump 2 strikes, one if he's going to go farther out to the left, the other if he's going to sail on this course, which he does, and we get the kill here. Now, the Shimakaze, I had no clue where he was. He ended up running far south on the 10 line, so he's causing some mayhem in the backfield. I could have gone for him, but I felt like the spotting I was providing for my team, hence the combat scout, was more vital to focus on the cap if I could. Here is where I end up getting myself into trouble with this Zhao. So I decide that, hey, I've still got a heal left. I should be utilizing my guns a bit more. We do get 2 fires there. And his guns weren't looking at us, so that's part of me being cheeky here. And I get briefly spotted there because I'm still slowing down and the smoke has a hard time keeping up. Which I still got to talk about the smoke. We'll get to that. Because it's only an 80-second smoke screen time, and I think you have to have it activated for 10 seconds before you can put it off onto cooldown. Here's where you'll get in trouble with Laffey, I think. There's a ship going behind an island, and then you end up firing, and then get smoked. Yeah, and that's Zhao, right? And the shell travel time on Zhao is quite fast. It's not like a Worcester or something like that. And I did this last week, when I was playing Colombo and I featured it, and I was about to go behind an island, and a destroyer decided to shoot me as I go behind the island, but I had the main battery facing that way. It's like, ooh, yeah, you messed up. Because Laffey has this interesting complex, because it's 127s, and it's more built as a gunboat, but yet you don't really want a gunboat because the range of these 127s is 12.4. So it doesn't, you can if you're playing the 10 to 12-ish, but it's really hard to avoid in Juke when you don't have an engine boost backing you up. So in terms of a farming boat, Sherman and Hull would be much better in the role, possibly even Burroughs, compared to Laffey, because Laffey's just not set up that same way. Now, it would have been great if I still had the heal and I hadn't taken that hit from Zhao, because as I'm going to push into to the cap, we run into Sherman. And with his sap, he's going to eat through us really fast here. And we're going to burst fire instantly. And again, we're going to end up trading here. We're just going to end up killing each other. So that's kind of the ace up the sleeve Laffey has in those kinds of engagements, that sometimes you can guarantee trading the other enemy destroyer with you also being taken out. So it feels a bit cheap, not gonna lie, but in terms of how Wargaming has kind of presented you a gearing that's meant to take more, it's like a knife fight destroyer, except you don't have hydro, right? It's meant to have more of these gun engagements with destroyers. So that's kind of these last 2 videos that you're seeing here, these battles. It was me focusing a little bit more on the destroyer side of the engagements. And then when a cruiser or a battleship pushes into you, you have torpedoes, you have smoke if you need to disengage. So I'm chilling out here because usually a destroyer will come up to this backside of the cap exactly like this Kitakaze is. And Kitakaze has, a vicious main battery complement. So I'm going to smoke up really fast here and then use the burst fire. It was only a brief engagement, but we still took about 5,000 damage there. But with our team still spotting him, he's going to end up losing more hit points, but it's not going to be so later we run into him again as he's going to get away here. And, because we can just instantly turn off the smoke, we need to go ahead and move away from it. Now, I think with the November Foxtrot, I don't remember the smoke cooldown time. We'll have to maybe watch it again here. But I think it was around 27 seconds or something like that. I think it's 30 or under. I don't remember if it's 27, then the November Foxtrot's helping us get it down. So you have to be mindful that if you are going to turn off your smoke, that there's not going to be something continue to spot you, because you won't be able to just instantly smoke up again. Otherwise, you'd have players kind of doing this dolphin mechanic: spotted, not spotted, spotted, not spotted. If you want a really good advice here, I'm not saying that this Shimakaze player in general is dumb. I'm saying how he plays the Shimakaze is really dumb. You don't play Shimakaze the way that this guy plays Shimakaze, because he decides that he's not a torpedo destroyer, that he's a gunboat destroyer. So he picks a fight with an Elbing and a Missouri, in the fact that he's just not going to be able to go dark because 9.5 kilometer radar on Missouri. And rather than just, you know, angling and turning away, he just is going to keep showing broadside to the enemy Elbing and the enemy Missouri. And then he decides, maybe I should go ahead and disengage, and I turn out. But then what does he end up doing? He's good. Nah, I'm going to go broadside again. So he's going to eat even more damage because also have the Bremen, and maybe the Montana takes a shot at him as well. So don't play Shimakaze the way that this player plays the Shimakaze, because it's really dumb. And I was like, is he trying to get max adrenaline, max AR or something with his torpedoes? I don't know. So we're going to go ahead and go over here to Bravo. There's a cruiser sitting on the backside of Bravo. And I think I'd figured out that it was Cerberus. And so I go ahead and throw a rack just in case he decides to push. My goal is to try to go wide here. I would really like to sneak into the cap right here versus going around the island. It's a little bit of a risky play, but we have a heal helping us out here. And we got to kill our speed really fast because our concealment is 6 kilometers. I don't remember if the AA detectability, if it was like 2729. I don't remember right now off the top of my head. So you can see we're mainly rolling around the battlefield with no AA on. You know, we don't want Cerberus using depth charge planes and kind of figuring out where exactly we are. So leave your AA off, because, you know, typically with Laffey, you're going to be playing around caps in key contested areas. So again, we're providing some valuable spotting for our teammates here. Cerberus is it's not the most tanky, but because he decides to kind of come back in here, I decide I'm going to go ahead and pick a fight with him. I'm going to go ahead and utilize some of my hit points here. And there are times that the kind of the trick with Laffey is you have to decide when is it worth sacrificing some hit points to help out your team get the win. Because there's sometimes that you don't want to take the gunfight, you want to retain the hit points. And other times you really want to actually consider possibly trading some hit points to get the kill or secure it here. You know, in here I'm having to bleed a lot of smoke really fast to knock the Cerberus off the board in a blind fire from the Republic here. And that's one of the other challenges with the Laffey. You know, one is when do you decide to trade hit points versus when do you not. The other is you have to be really good about knowing when to utilize your smoke and when not to utilize your smoke. Because the big thing, you know, you want to keep juking with your propulsion, like, or at least I do. So I go ahead and I smoke up here, and then I speed up, and then I end up getting spotted again because I forgot, I got double spotted there or something, I don't remember exactly, yeah. And then I turn the smoke off. I should no reason have turned the smoke off there. I completely messed up. That's totally on me. And part of it was underestimating, you know, again, Republic has among one of the fastest reload times among tier 10 battleships, excluding Illinois and possibly one other ship. So it's not going to be like that normal 30-second reload time. Like Republic, you actually have to respect, and that's why a lot of cruisers end up dying to Republics, because they underestimate that reload time. So we had 3 fires lit on us there, but again, we have a repair party to help us out. So Laffey is, you know, this tier 10 American destroyer that's forgiving when you mess up and make mistakes, because you get a heal, you know, just like you do with the hull. Since that's a gunboat, you don't get smoke with hull, of course. But again, you get the heal. So it's Laffey's forgiving to newer players, and for really talented, skilled players in the game, Laffey is like can become quite deadly if you utilize her strengths really well, but also if you keep in mind her weaknesses and the challenges of the ship in terms of, you know, when might you use the burst fire versus not use the burst fire. When do you want to consider maybe possibly trading some hit points here for this engagement versus not wanting to trade hit points? When do you want to utilize your smoke or not utilize your smoke? You know, so here we're being cheeky as we go behind the island. We're trying to work on our management there, get some defended ribbons. So that's really I think if you can master those 3 things with Laffey, a lot of things open up for you as a whole with this boat, in my opinion. So again, you can see, we have a solo cap from earlier, or from this Bravo cap, and then we're basically going to be playing around Bravo the rest of this battle, actually. Here, ooh, yep, I got spotted again. So I'm not being mindful enough here. So again, I end up losing more hit points, but I was trying to get the kill in Republic. So that's one of the things that if you're a greedy destroyer player, yes, you have heals, and that helps the ship be more forgiving, but, as the game goes on, what you'll end up wishing is, because you sacrifice too many of your hit points, that maybe you had another heal, more hit points for later on in the battle. That's my experience with Laffey, and was still doing my best to learn here, with that 6-kilometer conceal. Otherwise, as a whole with the ship, yes, you have your standard depth charge. Depth charges, it helps out, when you do get broadside targets, like if it is an Elbing, because Elbing or destroyers like Ragnar that have a Hoffman with that thicker armor belt, you do want to be utilizing your armor piercing. Otherwise, if you're sticking with HE, you need to be shooting the bow or the stern of a Hoffman, Ragnar, Elbing to help you out here. Here we're working with our Jaeger. We have the Yamagiri. He's smoking up to go dark. I don't have any more smoke, right? So I'm going to go ahead and use my burst fire because I'm pretty sure I can get him off the board here, and we do, with the help of our Jaeger. And I'm still spotted. Here I would have liked to have had a smoke and just been able to go dark, because I'm going to have to deal with more incoming fire. As I want to go behind the island here, but what I have to do here is I actually have to go bow in. And because I don't know how much incoming fire and what exact ships have targeting on me besides the Bremen, I decide that I'm going to go ahead and utilize the heal. And also the other aspect is I've not been the best in terms of some of these clips of utilizing my damage control party as effective. I just thought I would be going dark there a lot sooner, and I didn't. So that tells me one of the other destroyers is perhaps a little bit wider on the top side of Charlie Cap. So now we get to utilize damage control party, and we're going to give some more distance here. And I'm trying to check the hydroacoustic range of the Bremen, because basically I want to fall back here. We want to work with our Rhode Island if at all possible, because he's going to be really helpful. Jaeger has the tickle torpedoes. So, this is kind of for the remainder of this game. It's more just talking about how the rest of this battle goes, as we still have another kill to pick up here. So, besides the 3 challenges I mentioned with the ship, in terms of other things that are going to make you an even better player in Laffey, is just knowing the strengths and weaknesses of other ships you're going up against, right? Here I'm going to go behind an island. Bremen is a little bit more distracted shooting another ship. There's a smoke screen still between me and the Bremen, but there's a gamble I could be spotted elsewhere, if a destroyer decided to go up there to the north. But we do get some damage, and then that prompts the Bremen. I believe he ends up popping a heal here. So that's great. And Rhode Island also has a radar, so that means he's going to be spotting this destroyer, the Kitakaze, which we weren't able to kill earlier. Kitakaze is going to go behind an island, so yeah, I want to utilize the burst fire here. In between myself and the Rhode Island, we get the kill. I was hoping that would be my 4th kill, but that doesn't happen. And we instantly use a DCP. Again, keeping in mind the Bremen, the Elbing is kind of going around. So then I have to be mindful I'm going to be spotted by Elbing possibly in that gap if I open up here. I have high explosive loaded, and we pop shots there. It's turned out. So that's kind of close, not gonna lie. We only got 3 pins there. AP would have been better for me to utilize there, and I don't, so that's on me. I think the Rhode Island had some difficulty here, because I think earlier, a little bit ago, I think he actually got chunked by the Montana, or he gets chunked here shortly, I don't exactly remember. But the Bremen is going to end up being aggressive and pushing in here. And I'm asking Jaeger if he can kind of go wide and spot, because we just don't know what the Montana is up to. So I decided to switch to armor piercing here. I know the Bremen is going to be focused on wanting to knock the Rhode Island off the board, so I'm just waiting. Bide my time, bide my time. And now I'm going to open up as soon as that engagement starts between the two of them, because I want to try to keep Rhode Island alive if at all possible. It doesn't happen, and I don't want to just use burst fire because I can't go dark, so we want to keep shooting here. You know, the Bremen is distracted by us. I don't think he might have his hydro and he sees all the Jaeger torps coming, but it's hard to avoid torpedoes that go really fast, and when you don't have a lot of hit points left, it makes it even more difficult. We're going to utilize burst fire, and we go down to Bremen secondaries, but we get our 4th kill. Now, what's helping us out here effectively is that for this game, we have 935 hit points, 935 hit points, 944 points versus their 934. So we have the points advantage here as the game's going to get close to ending. It's really close. We have 2 caps ticking compared to their 1 cap. So even if they're about to step on the Bravo, there's no other ship that's going to get over to Alpha fast enough to stop the points from us first hitting 1,000 before they can able to respond. So I was GGing the Rhode Island. You know, both of us did a lot when CC by the end of the game. But the Jaeger stays alive, and that's the big thing, that he just doesn't yellow into a Montana or the Elbing that are, at least perhaps both of them are in Bravo now. But he does the right thing, and he runs here. And so you can see kind of the value here in terms of how close this battle was in terms of controlling the objectives. And Laffey performs quite well in that. You know, the things they have to be mindful of, other destroyers that will dumpster on you, like Marceau, you know, a Ragnar, a Hoffman, a Z42, you know, other destroyers that can just really own you and make it a little bit more miserable in playing the Laffey in those kinds of engagements. So, post-battle results, 102,000 damage, 4 destroyed, 4 defended, the 1 captured with just 5 set on fires with 330 target hits. So this is among my better Laffey games. You can see with over 14,800 XP, almost 2,000 free XP, and 2nd grade efficiency. I'm still hunting, I think, the 1st grade and the expert at this point. Team score, 1975 base XP, and Rhode Island, 1979 base XP. And between him and I, we both had 8 kills between the two of us. So we were definitely putting in a lot of work here, and grateful for the Jaeger playing, you know, wisely there at the end and not just throwing the game. So complimented him, I believe, as well. Detailed report, you can see the spread of the damage. We took 46,000 damage effectively as a tier 10 destroyer. The Kitakaze we did damage to off the screen. We did 10,000 damage to him, but 1 million potential damage. And then you can see, you know, most of our damage, of course, was wrapped up in the main battery and some in the armor piercing. And then post-battle results with, I think, just green economic boosters. So that's Laffey in a nutshell. Tomorrow I'll do the upgraded commander build video for Laffey and give you my thoughts and recommendations. I think as a whole, Destroyer is quite fun. It's a Destroyer that's built more around the knife fighting element, more engagements, particularly with other enemy destroyers. So if you really struggle with that, then you probably will not going to enjoy Laffey as much, because, you know, then you're going to be wanting to play it more like a gearing, because it feels like a gearing. And, you know, it looks like a gearing. The main battery is identical to gearing. And then you're like, okay, then I'm just going to go play gearing so I get longer range torpedoes, this, that, and the other. Or I'm going to play Summers because I want to do more of a torpedo play style, right? And gearing is a really good example of a hybrid destroyer, like kind of hitting both worlds perfectly. Or then, you know, we fall into Laffey, which falls more towards the gunboat category, but still 10 torpedoes, 8 kilometer range, utilized when ships are pushing into you with a deadly def AA. So with that being said, I hope you liked today's video. If you did, give a thumbs up. If you didn't, give a thumbs down. Subscribe if you want to see more. If you're subscribed, thanks so much. I would appreciate it. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. And until next time, take care.